Good afternoon, Canada. İyi akşamlar, Türkiye. Today is the second day of Canada-Turk Innovation Program, and we are all very happy to have many successful organizations and startups with us. We are very excited for our guest speakers and hosts. Yesterday, we had the honor of being accompanied by lots of great guests, sharing their thoughts and experiences on the ecosystem of Canada and Turkey. Today, we have the pleasure of starting our panel with our guest and keynote speaker, Arda Özgün. Arda is the VP Product Management in Wesley Clover, which is a private global investment management firm and holding company. Welcome, Arda, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So good evening, everybody. It feels good to talk to my Turkish and Canadian friends in this beautiful spring day in Ottawa. Usually, trade commission services, embassies focus mainly on big industries and corporations. This time we are talking about startups and technology collaboration, and this is very visionary, and I will explain why. In mid to long term, I strongly believe joint innovation programs will reveal similar or even bigger trade volumes between two countries. Let's remember, like there was a study done in USA between 1975 and 2005, 30-year study, long-term study. And during this time, it seemed that startups add 90 million new jobs to the existing business, to the economy, and existing businesses shrunk 30 million employees. So the growth is coming from startups. Or like you're going to see similar figures in favor of startups if you examine stock exchange shares or GDP creation. So if you're going to invest on relationship, future relationship, startups and mainly technology is the right way to go. So from government perspective, while focusing on today via big industries and everything related around it, it's wise to encourage collaboration among small companies and startups, since it will create the future of commercial relationship. So before I start my presentation, I would like to thank Jamal as an ambassador of Canada to Turkey for his special interest in startup community. And this is very visionary. And to Chris, Senior Trade Commissioner, for his ongoing support to technology collaboration between Turkey and Canada. And Vefa, Trade Commissioner, Emin Yaşar, and all Vivaka team for arranging this organization. So, I am with Wesley Clover. Wesley Clover is an international investment company based in Ottawa. I am responsible for product and technology side of the investments, as well as, let's say, managing the portfolio of around like 50 technology startups. I graduated not far from you, like from Bilkent University, computer science program in 1994. Since then, I've been in technology. It has been 27 years. I worked in Turkey, US, UK, and Canada in different periods in my career. Before Wesley Clover, I worked in Turkey as a general manager of Vodafone Technology and then headed Turkcell Technology. Before that, I was technology group director at Nortel Netaş and Nortel in Canada. And earlier in my career, I was with a startup in Canada called Photonomy. And before that, I led the build of first internet backbone of Turkey, known as Turnet. Many of you may not know it, but before that, internet was accessed only from ODTÜ, Ege University, and Bilkent in Turkey. It was just an academic network. Now we are having our conference via internet. Like in 27 years, it's quite a huge progress. My talk is going to be in two parts. In the first part, I will quickly tell you about Wesley Clover to set the stage and talk to you about our model building collaboration and synergy between Canada and Turkey. I don't want to spend a lot of time on Wesley Clover, but it's important for you to understand what Wesley Clover does to understand our model, because we believe this is a very effective model for collaboration between two countries. Then I will talk to you about technology ecosystem in Canada very briefly, so that you guys can consider including Canada in your internationalization journey. Because internationalization is not an option anymore for startups. You have to go beyond your borders. You have to choose the right country to go beyond your borders. So Wesley Clover International, as I said, I will try to go quick.
Arda,
So
I'm just going to interrupt. Sorry, the presentation is not open yet, just to make sure that we haven't started.
Sure. Yeah, I will share it. I hope you can see it.
Okay, we can see it now. Thank you.
That's good. So Wesley Clover is in the business of building businesses. We are not a regular VC. We create companies. We are company builder. We create companies from scratch, and we help them grow after we create them. This is our model. So although we are seen as venture capital company, we are not traditional venture capital company. We are in Canada North in Ottawa. And one of the business of Wesley Clover is an umbrella holding company. One of the business is real estate. I'm mentioning about it here because we are running the biggest technology park in Canada. Around 30,000 engineers working in Canada North. Here you see the picture. And there are many big companies and small companies in this campus, around 500. I have some of these here. So you are going to find Apple here. You're going to find Amazon here. Also, you are going to see like Cisco, Ericsson, Nokia-like companies here. A lot of like startups on SaaS, on internet, on video processing, like 500 companies. So this is an ecosystem of technology companies. And this is run by KRP. So KRP is a Wesley Clover company. We are living in such a big technology hub in Canada. So this is how it looks, like a couple of highlights. We have the first autonomous car road in Canada. So publicly, when I look outside, there are autonomous cars running around here with all the smart intersections and everything. We have a big manufacturing companies around here, so we can try our industrial IoT implementations with those. We have a big agricultural area around here, so all the ag tech and clean tech technologies can be tried in here. And this is the building I am currently sitting. And as I said, like AR, VR video is here as well. This is a huge technology park, let's say. I'm not going to get into all the details. So as a Wesley Clover highlights, we created 100 or so companies so far with 90% success rate. And so far, no bankruptcy. It doesn't mean that we don't close the companies. We close the companies gracefully, not by a bankruptcy. And currently, 2 multi-billion-dollar exits, one around 5, the other one around like $12 billion. More than 20 hundreds of millions of dollars of exits. Currently, we have 40 technology companies in our portfolio, and this is expanding 4 every year. But of course, with the exits, we are keeping it like between 40 and 50. There are companies in Canada, US, UK, France, Turkey, Mexico, India, Chile, and United Arab Emirates. And we are expanding into India and Singapore more and more via our funds. So as I mentioned, like Vesticlover is an umbrella company. And within that umbrella, we do direct investment in Canada and US. Alacrity is our international company builder organization. And Elspark is the accelerator. Since we are creating the companies, we need to help those companies to grow and to learn from us. And Elspark is the entity we are using it for that. And Vesticlover Services is the entity helping startups go international, sell in other regions. Basically, growth and sell is the main parameters for startups. And as an investor, you need to help your companies apart from money. And sales is the key on that help, and Vesticlover Services is doing that part. So our portfolio, we have companies in multiple verticals, in multiple regions. I'm not going to get into the details of those. And Alacrity, as I said, this is the international entity for investment. Currently, it's in 5 regions and it's growing. Canada, UK, Turkey, France, Mexico. India, Indonesia, and Chile is coming up. Alacrity model, I want to spend some time in here. So how it works is, for example, when we come to Turkey, we are not going to own the whole fund. We are around 10 to 20% of the fund, but we work with local companies, like local investors, to build the fund. So it can be high net worth individuals, it can be family offices, it can be enterprises. So we build this fund by putting all this money together. And then we partner with local governments or with technology companies, with the strategic partners like that are going to help us on go-to-market front. So we build the companies, let's say this is Alacrity Turkey. We build the company in Turkey, then we help them grow in Turkey with our partners in Turkey, and then we help them grow internationally with the network of Vesticlover. And after that, like all those options are options for us. There can be exits. We can hold these companies and grow them. We can have like M&As or strategic sales. But I should say that like Vesticlover always tends towards help them grow. Alacrity Turkey, again, I don't want to get into a lot of details. We created 8 companies, 2 exits so far. It has been operational since 2015. And let's say, we are very much happy with the TVPI. Like that's total value to paid in. It's like a return on investment for an investment company. That has Turkey has very high percentile TVPI in our portfolio, and we are happy with the fund in Turkey. That's why we are planning to have our second fund next year in Turkey, and Turkish corporations and investors are welcome to join on Alacrity Turkey too. The second initiative in Turkey for Vesticlover is the R&D. We are hiring top talent in Turkey to work with our startups worldwide. This is not an outsourcing organization. We would like Turkish engineers be part of global startups. And this started last month, and we are partnering with Actuate to enable this organization. As I said, Vesticlover Services is the international affiliate for Vesticlover startups to sell their products globally. So, you know, like as a startup, how difficult it is to sell in South America, how difficult it is to sell in Asia or in Europe. So with these organizations all around the world, we are helping these companies to sell worldwide. SaaS Accelerator, Elspark, I should say that as Wesley Clover, we are mainly focused on B2B SaaS companies. That's our expertise. And that's why we have B2B SaaS Accelerator to help our companies grow and accelerate. They are doing their own cohorts in order to provide funnel for Wesley Clover investment. They also work with big enterprises like QNX, TELUS as a corporate accelerator. So this is our model. Basically, as Wesley Clover, our model is to go to a country to start a fund and then work together with local people for that fund and start companies locally in that company, in that country, and then grow them internationally. But of course, this is not the only model. There can be so many other models. So I will talk to you about Canada a bit, because like for startups, going international is not optional anymore. There is no way, but you guys have to go international. One reason is your business can scale globally via cloud technologies to expand your offering and via mobile to distribute your offering to the users. If you are not going to go global, your competitors will go global. So you have no other choice, but you have to go global. And if you think that being local is your differentiator, that means that you are going to hit the road at one point when you get the market in your local area, right? Because it can be two-sided marketplace, or your product may require like a networking graph that nobody can have. So you can grow within your own region, but then your growth ends. And growth is the main parameter for startup success. It's not revenue, it's not profitable, it's growth. So given that those local advantages is going to diminish at one point and you are going to stuck in your own region, even being local is a differentiator. You got to start thinking how you can go global and how you can start creating those differentiations in other regions early enough. And the last point for going global is B2B sales process is changing a lot. So sales guys with Rolodex is still valid, but we need less of those. We need less expensive sales teams, even for the enterprise sales. For SMB, it's already gone. But for enterprise, in order to sell them, we know that you need to touch the employees of the enterprise before making big sales efforts. So if you combine all these, it's much easier to go global now. But this also says you have no other options, because if you don't go global, your competitors will go global. And with bigger funds, you are not going to be in the game anymore. So where you should go international differs based on your value prop, based on your relationships. The right place to start is sometimes Canada, sometimes India, sometimes United Arab Emirates, or somewhere else. But there are some things you need to consider. One is growth is the key metric for startups, not profit, not technology. Funds will fuel growth, and capital will follow talent. So you guys need to go closer to the talent. So growth, funds, talent, and the market size. Like where you go, there should be a sizable market. And as a last one, stability has a value. So you need to create a stable environment for your startup. Focus is the key at the startup, but adjacencies is the must for scale up. And that diversity is going to create a stability for you guys. That's why we advise our startups focus on Turkey at the start, but as long as they have the product market fit, they will go for adjacencies, either regional adjacencies or product adjacencies. I know I passed my time quite a bit, but I have a couple of points about Canada, and then I want to finish. Sorry about it. I hope that's okay, Yashar.
We could do that. We could also maybe like ask it about this, like if there was one message that you would really like to share with the startups that are planning to go global, and or like for the startups in Turkey or Canada to collaborate with each other or start this collaboration. How would you, what would be like the most important message that you would like to leave with them?
First, I believe they need to decide Canada is the right country for them to go international. That's first. And Canada has a lot of advantages, but that doesn't mean that Canada is the answer for all the questions. So, like one of them is talent. I believe it's important than anything else. Like startups need to be able to find talent in the countries that they are growing into. And Canada stays in a very good place here. Like during the last 5 years in Canada, we have more tech jobs created, more than in San Francisco, Seattle, and Washington, D.C. combined. A lot of talent is flowing through Canada. Startups need to be able to get their share from that talent pool. So once they are in, they need to make sure they are in a friendly country. The country should welcome them. And Canada stays in a very good place here, I believe. The second is the funds, like availability of the funds, I should say. In 2020, the approximate fund size in Canada was $5 billion. That's like at 30 times what was available in Turkey. And the other good thing about here is US is so close, and we know it for the fact our startups, if they get 1 unit of funding from Canadian VCs, they got 2 units of funding from US VCs. So all the funds in the US is available to Canadian startups. So that's also important because funds are the fuel for growth, and we said growth is the main parameter for startups. From the market size perspective, Canada is not the biggest market in the world. We know that it's like twice of Turkey, right? The advantage of Canada here is we are the neighbor to the biggest market in the world, which is basically like 30 times the size of Turkey. So it's easy to access US market from Canada. And the last one I'm going to say is stability is important. Like stability is must for startup. Canada supports a stable commercial ecosystem with stable economy, with rule of law, with freedom of speech, with balanced labor law. So when you grow and when there is an exchange rate difference, and it can eat all your growth, and you are going to have a very difficult time explaining your potential investors what happened. I was growing, but this happened and that happened. That's why that diversity early in the cycle and getting the stability is so important. So basically, these are the parameters I would look at. like the market size, the availability of the funds, the friendliness and availability of the talent, and also having this trusted, stable flag uh, associated with your startup. So where to start is a long discussion. I already eaten quite a bit from other people who are going to be talking in the conference. Sorry about it. Like I couldn't come into that. But like this is all I want to say today.
Thanks a lot, Arda, both for joining us, sharing this presentation, and knowing about Wesley Clover and Alacrity, the initiatives that you've also started this past year, enabling like startups and entrepreneurs to get access to a global mindset is very important and very exciting. And thanks a lot for being here and sharing these with us. Now, I will also be moving on to our next panel. We have our guests, Utku Seçkin, Head Expert of TÜBİTAK, Serkan Unsal, founder of Startups Watch, and Barış Okur, co-founder of Viveka, with us. And we're going to, basically, I would like to, after making maybe an introduction of yourselves, we're going to continue with a small presentation from Utku to give an idea about the ecosystem of Turkey in terms of the trends that exist and the developments, the economic developments that are related to it as well, and then continue on with Serkan on how the investment funds and development of the startups themselves have changed over these past few years. And then with Barış, we're also going to go around the discussion of how corporations and companies' collaboration with startups have had an influence on the development of the ecosystem. Utku,
Yeah, sure.
Barış,
Yes. Let's start with me. It's okay. Then continue with Serkan, sure. And after that, Utku will start his presentation. Thanks, Yaşar, for kind representation. So I'm the co-founder of the Viveka, and I'm a tech entrepreneur. I founded Viveka with a government foundation in Turkey that called Tech Entrepreneur Government Foundation. So we started 2010 to develop programs for corporates and private companies or government or organizations or NGOs. So we design and execute programs for these stakeholders and shareholders. We have a huge mentor pool, and when we need a program with a specific domain, we can connect these mentors to our program. So we called it a full service accelerator because we designed from the beginning of the a startup journey from idea to globalization. So we can support them during the mentoring sessions, during the training sessions, or during the reaching new markets. So maybe that's all for now, and maybe we can continue with the cycle.
Hello, everyone. I'm founder of Startups Watch. Startups Watch is a Crunchbase of Turkey or CB Insights of Turkey. Maybe Canadian people know Crunchbase and CB Insights. We are collecting all startup venture capital data and sharing with all our clients and stakeholders. And it's 6 years old. Since 2015, we have a platform, subscription-based platform, and more than 200 people subscribed, more than 200 clients subscribed to our platform, and we are trying to leverage our ecosystem, Turkish startup ecosystem. And I think that's it for our platform and for me.
Thanks a lot, Serkan. Utku, would you like to continue?
Yes, thank you. Hello, my name is Utku Seçkin. I work at the Scientific and Technological Research Council of Turkey Entrepreneurship Support Group. And we run several programs for the entrepreneurs, techno-entrepreneurship in Turkey. And support all the actors and players in the ecosystem with our several support programs. That's it right now. We can continue.
Great. Utku, maybe we can start with your presentation and then continue with to listen about the topics from Serkan, and then have a debate around where the three of you see the ecosystem right now.
Thank you. I'd like to present our flagship program, entrepreneurship tech and techno entrepreneurship support program, and some other programs that we are executing. Is it?
It's not full screen yet. Okay, now we're seeing it in full screen. Thank you.
So it's okay. Actually this techno entrepreneurship support program is our flagship program. It's called Big in Turkey. It's a multi-phase program. The first phase is the idea phase actually, and accelerators which are supported are another program. Collect the ideas and evaluate and screen and run their in-house programs, accelerator programs, like provide the entrepreneurs for incubation, mentorship, market analysis, and technology verification services. And they help entrepreneurs that make their ideas to a business plan. So after that, the second phase starts. Entrepreneurs apply for our second phase, and we evaluate them and evaluate the phases, the ideas, the applications, and the entrepreneurs who are selected get their seed capital. And it's like 200,000 Turkish liras. It's like in US dollars, it's like seven. With this, it's like 23,000 US dollars. So they establish their firms, their startups, and get their seed capital. So we have after this phase, they have still get access to another program in order to continue their R&D. So as I said, it's a multi-phase support mechanism. As we have 6 thematic areas, 2 calls every year, and nationwide open for all for the individuals. Call topics are advanced manufacturing, industry 4.0, ICT and digitalization, smart transport, energy and clean technologies, health and well-being, food and sustainable agriculture. We have for the first phase of the program, the 63 accelerators are running the first phase, and we have 60 million Turkish liras budget for this program every year, annual budget. Almost 33,000 business ideas we get, and more than 1,500 new startups established between 2012 and 2021. So we already have a performance analysis for our program. The startups which are established between 2014 and 2019, they have 958 million Turkish lira sales in 5 years. Their sales per grant rate is 7.14, and it's very important, I think. And their revenue per grant is 3.8 per sales. And they have, from the public, they get 256 million Turkish liras grant in 5 years. their survival rate is 77.5, and their 23% of sales are from export, and the unemployment rate is 2.74, and 9.3 of the startups already sales overseas sales. So it's like it was 1.4 million export revenue. So I will continue with our another call under our another program. It's Big Plus, called Big Plus Mentor Interface call. It's supporting activities. Aim is the supporting activities for the establishment and implementation of mentoring mechanism to increase business development and innovation capacities of SMEs. Actually, the mentoring services are expected to improve of SMEs in order to increase their internal turnover, increase in their current market share, entry into new markets, and increase in overseas sales. So we have 11 interfaces mentoring 321 startups and SMEs. We established a mentor pool with like 1,400 mentors, and we have still 117 active mentors in this under this call. And we have another funding program about which funds VC funds via TTOs. Is that the target of this tech investor program is to contribute to elimination of the capital needs of early stage technology-based ventures and commercialization and of R&D and innovation results, and enabling the venture capital funds supporting the ventures in our country and improving these processes with contributions of the government, establishing a sustainable venture capital ecosystem to support early stage technology-based initiatives through TTOs, and providing experience on venture capital resources and in TTOs. And lastly, I would like to mention our GCIP program. It's a global clean tech innovation program, which is we are executing it with UNIDO, and we already executed the first phase between 2014 and 2018. It was an acceleration program, which is in clean tech for the clean tech entrepreneurs. We had 5 cycles in 5 years. 5 cycles with the categories in renewable energy, energy efficiency, water efficiency, waste management, green buildings, smart transportation, advanced materials. Entrepreneurs has access for training, mentorship, the general mentors and specialist mentors, and promotion and access to capital with this accelerator program. Almost 900 applications get in this 5 years, and we have more than 100 semi-finalists and 10 finals and 1 national winner. So we have actually 50 panelists and 20 women entrepreneurs and 300 mentors involved in this program. So we are now we will be in this year we will go on with the phase 2, and it's not all, and our partners with this is the Ministry of Industry and Technology, and like 4 ministries, 2 universities, and private sector companies. So there will be 3 components. It will not be only an acceleration program, but the first component will be the capacity building of national ecosystem for strengthening acceleration capacity for startups. And the second component will be advanced post-competition support on investment and commercialization for startups and SMEs, providing technology verification and product development and market entry support. We'll support entrepreneurs with our TÜBİTAK support programs, under TÜBİTAK support programs with this, and monitoring and evaluation. And thank you.
Thanks a lot, Utku, for the presentation and sharing the programs with us. Serkan, would you like to continue? I'm very curious to hear about the developments from your side as well. Your microphone is closed.
Yeah,
Okay,
can you see it right now?
Yes, we can hear you and see you now.
Okay, great. This is Turkish startup ecosystem in 2010. As you can see, there is not much stakeholders in our ecosystem. There was no stakeholders, there was no investors, etc. It can't be read easily, but I can say it. This map shows angel networks, angels, crowdfunding platforms, investors, VCs, accelerators, incubators, etc. And as you can see, in 2010, there was a little amount of stakeholders. And just a second. And this is the last year's version. As you can see, there are lots of stakeholders in our ecosystem, especially for this year. Every 2 weeks, a new fund established because of some Turkish regulations. All banks and big companies are establishing funds in Turkey, and corporates are very active in Turkey for establishing new funds. For that reason, it's good for us because there are a lot of options for startups in Turkey right now. And this is showing the venture and angel investments in Turkey yearly. And as you can see, in 2011, there were $38 million invested to 25 startups. And right now, in the first quarter, with the help of Getir's mega rounds, startups, 62 startups raised $509 million in just 3 months. As you can see, it's growing very well. Even if you exclude Getir's biggest round, you can also see that it's still growing by year because of there are lots of new funds and some startups learned how to go global and they need more money and they are raising more money. That's why it's getting bigger every year. And this is also showing corporate venture capital activity. Corporates are very active for the last 4 or 5 years. Lots of banks established their corporate venture capital funds, and lots of firms are also entering investments to startups. And this is showing the heat map of venture capital activity in Europe and Middle East and North Africa. If you compare Turkey with Southeastern Europe and Middle East and North Africa, it's a very good hub for startups. But if you compare it with Western Europe, it's very small compared to France, Germany, Spain, and UK. And this is showing we put all countries, all European countries to a league, like a football league. And as you can see, Turkey is in first league, not in Super League. And as you can see, United Kingdom raised, startups in United Kingdom raised $7.6 billion in first quarter of this year. And in Turkey, it's $509 million. But 2 years ago, we were in second league. We are growing every year. And if you look at MENA funding league, we are competing with United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia and Egypt. And Israel is very big compared to other Middle East, North Africa countries. And this is showing acquisitions, exits, and secondary transactions. Last year was tremendous for Turkish startup ecosystem because there were two great exits last year. One is Peak. Peak is acquired by Zynga for $1.8 billion. And it was unicorn when it's acquired. And the other exit was Rolik. Rolik established and exited in just 20 months. In 20 months, Jay established a game company and sold it in after 20 months. And it's the fastest exit in Turkish startup ecosystem. And they accelerated and they helped lots of games, Turkish game startups established for the last 12 months. And Turkish gamers, Turkish game startup founders are very eager to establish new game startups. Their appetite increased. And this is showing we have plenty of fundings in Turkish startup ecosystem for the last 4 years. As you can see, there are 30 funds established for the last 4 years, and they have dry powder approximately $670 million, and it's showing that there are plenty of record amount of funding for Turkish startups. And that's all my presentation.
Thanks a lot, Sarkan.
Yaşar, are you okay? I think.
Yes, I had a
offline
small.
little bit. Okay.
I had a very small hiccup with my internet, but I'm back now. Thanks
Okay,
a
nice,
lot.
nice.
So maybe we can start it, the discussion with, I mean, at least the 10 minutes that we have remaining like this.
Mhm.
Barış, first I would like to also ask your opinion on the last developments that we've had on, I mean, Sarkan also mentioned that there are lots of CVCs being developed over the past few years. And there's also other aspects on the private sector that you are very close on seeing. Would you also like to share a few words of what you think about these latest developments?
Thank you, Yaşar. I have different ideas about this corporate startup innovation thing. So first of all, we can start with the COVID-19 crisis, I think, because especially the huge companies, huge distributors, huge manufacturers realize that the tech distributors, also the big tech distributors, can't fulfill their demands during the crisis. In my opinion, not only the crisis, but also normal times, the huge distributors, huge tech distributors don't have enough solutions for problems, all problems of the industries. Because when we have a huge partner, maybe most of our partners know that Enerjisa. When we make a partnership with them, we realize that they have too many problems to waiting solutions, the waiting solutions. So then we start a program with them, and we call it Speed Incubation Program, not an accelerator program, because the company doesn't responsible the growth of the startup. They have a problem and they just need to solve that problem. So they don't need an accelerator program. So we realize that. And yeah, in Turkey we call it a accelerator program, but in the real life or real methodology, it's a speed incubation program, we called it. So because we have a problem and we have some startups to create new solutions to that problem or these problems. So we match them, and they develop use cases to that problem. Startups develop use cases for the startup companies' problems. So And after that, if the company accepts that use case, they start a collaboration for a POC. That means proof of concept, you know. And the startup go to the field, and they look the field, they realize the restrictions of the field, they realize the real cases of the field. After that, they develop a new product, or they pivot to their solution, and they can find a perfect or a very good solution for company's problem. Yashar, can I show a slide for that?
Sure, of course, that'd be great.
Okay, you know that slide, we developed that together. So so I like that slide. So as you see, when a company starts an internal R&D process, they have a huge release and validate time and money process. So they have, maybe they have put for example, $1,000 or $100,000. That doesn't matter. But when they work with a startup or 3 startups with that money, they can find 9 different or 10 different, it changes of course, solutions. So the startups can be agile, the startups can be fast, and so they can change the industry easily, or they can change the processes easily. So I think that this is the most exciting thing we realized last year after the crisis, after the COVID-19 crisis. Also, I will show another slide about that. This is our program with Energisa. We call it Speed Incubation Program. I mentioned before. We accepted 10 startups in the first phase of the program during the COVID-19 crisis. So 6 startups applied R&D funding with Energisa after the POC stage. 2 startups decided to develop a new product with Energisa. And the most exciting thing that for us is 7 of 10 startups told us that they don't know they can sell their products to energy distribution companies. So this is so exciting for us, because we create a new market for them. How we can do that? Again, the company doesn't care about the revenue or the growth of the startup. They just look at the solution. So we, when we match them, we just focusing on that solution. We just ask them to focusing on that solution and that use case. So I think this is a good solution for the both sides. During the programs, we meet the internal departments of the companies, and we take some insights from these departments. After that, we are looking to startups for these problems, needs, etc. And after that we match them, and we started that POC phase. And as you see, we can get very good results for that. And Serkan mentioned that we have very good CVC in Turkey, and I think that pipeline will be a deal flow for these CVCs in 2021. In my opinion, there are too many good startups for these CVCs. That's all for now. If you have any questions.
Thanks a lot. Actually, since we don't have much time, I would like to ask one question from all 3 of you. Maybe, Barış, we can start with you and then continue with Serkan and Utku. What do you think right now? I mean, from you, Barış, is in more terms, for the corporations and startups, what are the biggest challenges that you see right now that they're facing, and what are the biggest opportunities that you see?
To be honest, the main problem in the ecosystem for the corporates, of course, the C-level C-level managers or C-level people don't believe startups enough yet. I think the main problem is that we should change their mindset as soon as possible, because when we show a startup to them, they say go a big tech. They go and get it from a big tech distributor. They don't believe startups yet. I think that this is the main problem. Also, startups doesn't in the startups perspective they don't make they don't make enough use cases with the companies. I think this is the problem. They have a product, they believe that product, and they don't think to create a use case for the company's problem. I think this is the problem for the startups, and the C-level decision makers are another problem for the corporates. I just say that thing. And one little point, there are so many strict regulations in Turkish markets for companies. For example, when a startup get an order, they should provide the letter of bank guarantee to that order. So they can't get that easily. So we are trying to solve that problem with the government support and government fundings, and also some banks can help the startups. I think we need a bank guarantees or a financial model for these processes.
Thanks a lot. Sarkan, what are your thoughts, especially on like the investments that are happening right now these past 2 years? And where do you see it's going? Like, what are the maybe in industries that you see opportunity for investment in Turkey? Or is there any opportunities for foreign startups, Canadian startups, looking at Turkey to come into the ecosystem?
Actually, fintech is the hottest vertical in Turkey for the last 5-6 years. But fintech has a scalability problem because fintechs can't go global very easily compared to game startups, because every country has different regulations. But fintech was always a hot topic, and the hottest topic in my opinion is gaming, because after Peak Games and Rolik, lots of startups, game startups established. I don't remember the exact number, but it's like 100 game startups established for the last 12 months. And as a total, after London, I think we are the top second game startups builder ecosystem in Europe right now. And it's bigger than Northern European countries, because North Europe known as gaming hub, but we have lots of game startups when compared to them. And gaming has lots of advantages compared to fintechs, because in the first day you can go global, and lots of gaming founders knows how to go global because they are A/B testing their games in every 10 days, and if the game is feasible in lifetime value and acquisition cost, then they are going in that country very easily. For that reason, gaming will be hot in the upcoming years also, because it is the fastest going global vertical compared to others. And I think, in my opinion, second one is fintech, although it's not so scalable to other countries. And SaaS, software as a service, can be third vertical, because new startups are going global with their SaaS startups, and we started seeing successful ones, and Insider is one of them. I think they will be unicorn in this year or next year with their software as a service, artificial intelligence service, marketing tech service. And I think these are the hot topics of VCs and founders.
Thanks a lot, Sarkan. Utku, I would also like to ask you, like with Big Plus and the new programs that you're designing and running with all the stakeholders around Turkey. So what are the maybe most exciting trends that you're seeing right now? And maybe what's one domain of new technology companies that is growing that's exciting for you?
Well, in our entrepreneurship support program, we have 6 thematic areas, and ICT and health and well-being is the most popular ones. We get lots of applications from that field thematic areas, and I actually from big program, it's in all areas we have successfully entrepreneurs, successful startups, and but if you look in general in Turkey, fintech is important. I think and gaming will be the future. But on the other hand, another thing that I'd like to mention is within the European Green Deal and with the, this Paris Agreement and everything, we should focus on clean technologies. Actually, maybe not only clean technologies, but maybe like energy storage models and in solar and wind energy, and we have to work a lot on this clean technologies. So as we already we'll start with this global clean tech program with UNIDO. We will be focused on the clean technologies also in our all the TÜBİTAK support programs. We will be focused on the clean technologies.
Thanks. This also reminds me of like many of the talks that we had yesterday. Our speakers were mentioning how in Canada as well, like there is this focus on clean technologies. Maybe we will have collaborations between the two ecosystems on this domain and increasing collaboration like over the coming months and years.
We'd like to happy to collaborate with Canada because it will help a lot for both countries. There will be a big change in this industry within the within this climate change. So maybe all the countries should collaborate during this field.
Definitely, and I hope. I mean, we all need it in a mean. So, like over the coming years, with the challenges that we're facing, and the coming generations, it's also very important to have a sustainable future. Barış, Sarkan, Utku, I'd like to thank all three of you for coming here, joining us, and sharing your experiences and insights about these topics. This is very exciting to listen to, and I hope you all have a great evening and enjoy the rest of the discussions as well. Now I'm going to give the mic to my colleague Hande to introduce our next panel and take it on from here.
Thank you all for these stimulating informations about Turkish ecosystem. Now, our second panel is about venture space in Canada and Turkey, and we have Sdg Connect, Director of Business Development in Montreal International. Welcome. And Hubbi Kuşoğlu Serter, the founder of F Plus Venture and Arya Women's Investment Platform. Welcome both. Maybe we can start with your little introductions about yourself. Cedric, would you like to start?
Yes, sure. So good afternoon, good evening, everyone. So quick presentation about us, Montreal International. We're the Economic Development Agency for Greater Montreal. So our role is to help the international come and set up in Montreal. So whether it's international companies looking to open up offices in Montreal, international startups, entrepreneurs, and also talent looking to come and set up in Montreal. So we're mostly funded by the three levels of government: the federal government, so Canada, the provincial one, Quebec, and the Montreal metropolitan area.
Ahu, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Good evening to all of you. It's a Thank God it's Friday evening. It's been a long day for all of you and me as well. My name is Ahu. I'm the president of one of the well-known industrial corporations in Turkey. It's called FARC Holding. And within our corporation, we designed an innovation lab to design a better version of the future for all of us, not only our company. It's called FARC Labs. I'm the chief entrepreneurial officer of FARC Labs, who's also investing in mobility in different enterprises. And I'm also the founder of ARIA Women Investment Platform. So we both try to train more female investors and also have investors as father of daughters as our investors, and we invest in female founders or co-founders. Thank you for having me tonight.
Great, we are lucky to have you all. Sdg, I want to start with you. My first question is, what are the most recent trends in the venture space of Canada and Montreal? Maybe what are some of the best practices for international startups looking to pursue venture funding in Canada?
Yeah, sure. So if we talk about the most recent trends, or maybe first how, in what sectors really startups in Montreal, in Quebec, across Canada are really focusing on now. So the trends, Canada just in general focuses a lot on innovation, on everything related to that. So we have a really amazing ecosystem related to the deep tech industry, the life sciences, the med tech. I've heard also before the collaborator Serkan was talking about gaming and fintech. Gaming in Montreal, we have over 200 studios that are present here. So gaming is a big part of our city, of the country also. And in fintech also, we have a great ecosystem, which makes sense, like Serkan was saying, in terms of scaling fintech. It's not as easy as other verticals, but we still have had some major successes in the past few years. One of them being Lightspeed that IPO'd last year. And like Utku was mentioning, related, let's say everything related to clean tech, Montreal is a big hub right now, emerging hub in clean tech. As a lot of people know, here in Quebec, our energy is 99% clean, with the hydroelectricity. So there's a lot of mobilization in Montreal, in Quebec, in terms of clean technology, clean tech. We have the largest VC fund in clean tech across Canada based in Montreal, Cycle Capital. So that's also a trend, a sector that is really brought to grow and scale in the coming years. And just in general, I mentioned a bit deep tech, but one of the major breakthroughs that happened a few years ago regarding artificial intelligence, deep learning, happened in Canada with Yoshua Bengio, based in Montreal, and Jeffrey Hinton, based in Toronto, and which really, I would say, scaled our ecosystems in terms of everything related to the development of AI technologies. And as we know, AI is transversal, so it's not just a specific industry. So it really got brought down to all the different industries in terms of life science, med tech, in fintech, and in deep technologies. It's been just an amazing help across all the different industries, and brought certainly a lot of innovation in those specific sectors.
Thank you. Actually, I'll ask the same question to you, Ahu. What are the most recent trends in the venture space of Turkey? But also, what do you think about the differences you see between in these two ecosystems in terms of the venture space?
Oh, sorry, unmute. Yes, right here, I'm going to refer to the report of Serkan in Startup Watch. He was just a guest speaker in the previous panel, because I was reviewing his report. Actually, it was very well summarized that Getir has been the biggest hit of this year, which in my opinion is also a mobility startup. So, and my area is one of my core areas is mobility. I think mobility in general is a very hot issue in the world, and not only from an investor's point of view, but also from a transformation point of view. So a lot of the car makers in the world, OEMs, the automotive sector, which had been the catalysts of the world's economy for the past 100 years, now they have to transform themselves, and then they are realizing that mobility is the next thing to do. And so there is a lot of investment money, capital going into not just from funds, but also from corporates into the sector. So to me, mobility is number one. Gaming, like Serkan said, it's like how Israel found its sweet spot, with cryptocurrency, cybersecurity and the other technologies. I think Turkey had found its sweet spot as well with gaming, and it's going to grow even further. So, but in terms of some of the not yet discovered kind of goals, you would say, I have maybe two for you. One is definitely the life sciences version. I mean, in Turkey, there is a lot of scientific research on life sciences area, both in the pharmaceuticals, but also the biotech industry. But because these researches, it takes a lot of time to come to the investment level, or Turkish researchers don't yet know how to take their ideas and their research to the investment level. It's going to take some time, but this is definitely one of the areas that we are very keen on investing. The other one is very dear subject to me is women. I think that women are the most underutilized asset in the world, as with Hillary Clinton. I agree with her. So when you look at the report in Startups Watch, out of the $509 million invested in venture capital last year, only 3 million went to women, female founders, and only 7 out of 62 were female-founded companies. So I don't think this is from a lack of female founders, but this is a lack of, I think, capital selection. So, and with the ARIA Women Investment Platform, actually what we are trying to do is increase the awareness, increase the funding towards female founders, funded companies, and also you can only, if you increase the number of female investors, then you can also increase the amount of capital that goes to the female entrepreneurs. Today, actually, I'm very proud to say we just closed a deal with, we invested in Optiol with ARIA Women Investment Platform, 4 Drive Ventures and FARC Labs, and a set of different investors. More than half of the round was led by ARIA, $800,000. So I would say, I'm very proud to say that in the past 6 months, we invested more than $2 million in 6 deals as ARIA. So we almost made most of the report for the next year.
Who actually yesterday we talked about the gender equality in Canadian ecosystem, and you are the founder of ARIA Women Investment Platform. We really want to hear more about your experience and your insights of female entrepreneurship environment in Turkey, and what are the main challenges they are facing?
Well, there are many challenges. I think the challenges of women around the world is kind of similar to each other, but I think more than focusing on challenges, I would like to focus on the strengths of having females or having diversity in corporations, in ventures. This is the area where we are trying to show both the investors, which is already statistically proven that more diversified teams, gender diversity brings more return. That's a given fact now. But I think also it's very important for corporations to see that diversity brings richness. So for example, in this round that I just gave as an example, ARIA was a catalyst among an OEM, a traditional OEM, a mobility lab, and a women investment platform. So I think this is the strength where women can be a catalyst for a lot of things, because they are more open to collaboration, and they don't have certain limitations to collaborate. So this has proven a very good strategy so far for us. Challenges, lack of funding, and there is not enough women around the table on both sides. That's the main challenge. So the numbers need to increase so that the stakeholders, there are more female stakeholders, and then the investments will follow. Because when you look at the Turkish figures, by the way, the most successful startups, 2 of them, the founders are female. I mean, we talk about Insider. Hande is one of the founders and she's the CEO. When you look at Trendyol, there's a female founder. So I don't think it's a lack of success that is the challenge, the other things.
Yeah, actually, it's very hopeful. My last question about this gender equality, how do you support them and how do you see their future, actually?
We have an accelerator program. So in FARC Labs, so the innovation lab in FARC Labs, we do everything together. We call it the collaborative intelligence practice. So things that we are doing in a corporation or in other places, they don't need to be separate from each other. And just because we're another corporation, that should not mean, or we are a venture fund, should not mean that we cannot co-invest with another. So we are doing a lot of activities that encourages these kind of collaboration by being the example first. So what we're doing, and this is also women need to learn that because they've been alone for a long time. So it needs practice. So we have the challenge clubs. These are groups of 20 women where there is peer learning, there is investing learning. They have access to our monthly pitches where they see different entrepreneurs. So we coach and bring the entrepreneurs if they're ready for investment. If they're not yet ready for investment, we take them to our acceleration program. If they're not ready for none of it, then we have also clubs for them, to development clubs that they can become a part of. So there is something for everybody. I call it, it's like a buffet that we are preparing for you, but how you decorate your plate, it's, it's your job. So.
Yeah. Thank you so much. We talk about the gender challenges, but Cedric, for the international investors, what are some opportunities and challenges for international investors looking to take part in Canadian innovation space? What do you think?
Yeah, so in terms of international investors, international companies looking to tap into that Canadian innovation space, well, definitely it's going to be challenging to secure financing or funding in Canada without a local presence or some assets and IP in the region. However, one of the key advantages of Quebec also is, compared to other jurisdictions across Canada, is that you don't need to find Canadians to sit on your board if you want to incorporate. Incorporating provincially can be with 100% foreign-owned entities. And that will allow you to tap into that pool of talents and also very generous incentives in terms of R&D and innovation, different programs to help companies innovate with university, with researchers, also grants to hire university students, whether master's or PhD students, to work in your startup, to also add to that collaborative and innovation and the R&D that will be developed. So a lot of different programs are present regarding to that. And there's been a few companies, a lot of companies internationally, and some of them in that area that chose to set up in Montreal a subsidiary, a company, in order to serve the North American market, but also in terms of developing R&D and collaborating and tapping into that ecosystem of innovation that we have here in Canada and in Montreal.
Okay, how do you try to grow the ecosystem actually as a Montreal International?
I'm sorry, how do you?
How do you try to grow the ecosystem, startup ecosystem as Montreal International?
Yeah, so maybe if we can give a bit about background of the local ecosystem we have here. And I can address a few parallels with the previous speaker. I think it was Serkan talking about getting more and more bigger companies involved in the startup ecosystem. That was something that Montreal actually went through a few years ago. So if we go back in terms of startup ecosystem in Montreal in 2015, 16, it was almost night and day comparing to what we have now in terms of incubators, accelerators, VC funds. It all grew, I would say, really organically. And now we have over 40, 50 incubators, accelerators just on the island of Montreal. Most of them are industry specific or vertical specific, which usually is an indicator of the maturity of an ecosystem. If you have enough pipeline in that vertical or in that industry that are able to enough pipeline to sustain an incubator or sustain an accelerator. The step after that really was having more and more focused VCs also being created or from the international coming and looking at our ecosystem. And that's when I think governments more and more took notice and started funding incubators, funding accelerators, participating in VC funds, especially early stage VC funds, so pre-Series A, investing a sustainable amount in them. And finally, I think that's the last stepping stone is the big corporations, right? For them not to be scared anymore, to collaborate, to get to have clients as startups, also opening up innovation labs. We've had a few banks across Canada open up innovation labs. We've had also engineering firm, SNC Lavalin in Montreal, open up their innovation lab recently. So where we were 4 or 5 years ago, where big corporations didn't want anything to do with startups, and whether for potential clients or partnerships, now it's getting more and more. They're realizing more and more the added value of that. And maybe I would say the last stepping stone that as an ecosystem we need more of is really CVCs. So corporate VCs, we're at that level now where if we compare ourselves to USA or even Europe in terms of corporate VCs, there's not necessarily that many corporate VCs that are present in our ecosystem.
Yeah, it sounds good. It looks like it's growing so fast. My last question is that which investment domains that you are focusing on, and what are the investments that excite you most?
Yeah, well, I mean, so Montreal, the ecosystem grew organically. So our top sectors, like I was mentioning, in deep tech, life sciences, fintech, creative industry, we're a big hub, and also clean tech. It's emerging. So in terms of ecosystem, our startup ecosystem kind of replicated what was present in terms of big corporations, in terms of talent, of research. So we've developed these verticals in terms of startup ecosystem and support. So that's for one. And then for two, what am I really excited about? I think clean tech, smart transport, smart mobility also is going to be a huge role in our future. And more also bigger companies are looking into maybe getting into that field or looking at what's happening in terms of innovation there. So that's a sector that is really exciting for me. And there's a company in Montreal, Lion Electric. They do electric engine for bigger vehicles, and they signed a few months ago a partnership with Amazon for their trucks to be able to move all these products, all that merchandise using clean technology. So that's one of the examples of where Montreal is currently also shining in that new emerging, I would say, trend.
Yeah, it's shining. And thank you, Cedric. Ahu, what about Turkish ecosystem? What are the opportunities and challenges for international investors? Where do you see the ecosystem?
Well, Turkish ecosystem definitely needs to become global to attract more international investors. So, the situations to attract funds towards Turkey and to the funds, I don't think it's the right climate right now. So instead of waiting for this to happen, all the good startups need to go global. And this is also one of the things that we're trying to do with FARC Labs. We so far have offices in Paris and Seoul. Those were the offices that we had long-term automotive customers. And next will be Shanghai and Detroit, so that if a startup that we are investing or accelerating needs to go out, then we can place them in one of them, wherever their prospective customers lie, then they can go to that office and work. And also, I think when Montreal, for example, is one of the issues. So when we look at a startup and we kind of decide how are we going to take them global, what would be the ideal path, where are the customers located? So for Europe, for example, Estonia has been a good opening. But for example, Montreal also for the North American market has always been in our radar because it's also an easier entry. It's a more welcoming environment. But of course, it's very important access to the projects and the customers. So if you don't get sales, you don't survive. And that's very important. So these are the things that we are trying to do with our startups. And also, for example, in terms of the investment, why it is so important that we cooperate with each other is because, let's say, to invest in a Canadian startup in the seed round, this is too much work, and this is in an area that we don't know. So we have to collaborate with CVCs, different CVCs like ours, so that we can invest, we can be co-investors in their investments. This is one of the things that we are working on. And recently, for example, we opened up a co-investing program for our CVC. Whatever deals that we are getting into, we are also inviting other interested parties for mobility and for life sciences to co-invest with us, so that we have a sizable ticket and then the effort is one, but then we do more with that.
Thank you. Ahu, is there any specific investment domain that excites you too? Would you like to share?
Yes. Well, that's why we need more women, by the way, because women get more excited about impact investing, having an impact, return on equity, return on capital. That's very good, but return for the world and the impact that we are creating for the world is also very important. So I'm there also with Cedric, that anything that is good for our pockets, but also good for our surroundings, and the future is important. So I'm following the patient capital, impact investing, social ventures that are for-profit social ventures, especially, which ARIA is also one. So we need to produce more of these examples. I think EdTech, education, the way we educate our children needs to be disrupted totally. So there is a lot of room in that area. So there is a lot to get excited about. And I hope we will all find something for each of us.
Yeah. Thank you. Cedric, is there anything else you want to share or add? Because we come to the end of our session.
I think, and just maybe to touch a point that was mentioned in terms of seed funding, and how usually seed is a very local funding there. Who mentioned it, and we get a lot of questions about, I would say, pre-Series A startups, or sometimes even pre-seed. They raise a small pre-seed round, and they're looking to connect with local VCs here in Canada, and it's extremely tough for local VCs to look at these companies necessarily and have time to look for them, because we all know that VCs, I think, everywhere are heavily solicited. And usually one advice that we give, and that's how we see startups having success when they open a branch internationally, because let's face it, startups don't necessarily have all that money or capital to have PR and be able to do a big marketing campaign. Usually we really advise them on joining a local incubator or accelerator, really to be able to have that network of mentors, of clients, of partners, and kind of have that stamp of approval, saying that there's a Canadian organization that has taken in that startup, that has potential, helps them adapt maybe a bit their product or their pitch to North America. and that's when usually local VCs will look at these startups and have more interest in them than if a startup is located internationally and sends an email to those investors. So that's something that we find a lot of startups not necessarily struggling, but that's one of the top advices that we've been giving in the last few years here at Montreal International.
Thank you both. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences and thoughts. Who is there anything else you want to add? If no,
Well,
thank you.
no, I hope we'll get to collaborate. Thank you.
Yeah, we hope to. It was a pleasure to have you as guest. Now we will pass to our third panel. My colleague Neil will be hosting this panel. And the next panel is called Building the Future with Green Tech, which is very popular and important nowadays. And we have two guests, Jacob Malthaus and Berna Eşeroğlu. Neil, are you here?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you, Hande. Thank you, Berna and Jacob. In this session, we're talking with co-founder of DECU, Berna Eşeroğlu, and Jacob Malthaus from Foresight Cleantech Accelerator. Welcome. Welcome to our program. I think in these 2 days, we had a great time together. It's very, very valuable and pleased to be here with you. First of all, I think, Jacob, could you please start the presentation? And then we talk about the green tech together.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. And can you see my presentation?
Yeah.
Excellent. 2 for 2. That's good news. All right. So hello, everyone. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak today about Foresight and our work in Canadian clean technology. I'm going to give a brief overview of Foresight as an organization, and then just talk through some examples in 3 sectors where we're seeing a high degree of innovation in Canada right now: water, hydrogen, and agriculture. So Foresight is Canada's ecosystem accelerator. We're a nonprofit organization. We were started in 2014, and our focus really is on building up the clean tech ecosystem in Canada. And we approach that from 2 angles. First of all, Accelerator Programs, which is training. So essentially providing training and capacity building to ventures from a very early stage right up into Series A, or when they're expanding nationally and internationally. So we've done that program now for about 6 years, and we have 4 levels of programming, ranging from the earliest stage when you're starting your business plan to the late stage. And we also have, in the last couple of years, built out what we call our ecosystems approach. And we noticed that companies were sometimes having trouble aligning with the needs of industry and government purchasers. And the ecosystem work is really designed to, through innovation challenges, market research, partnerships, events, really connect our companies that we're training much more closely with their customers. And the idea there is it's going to help them grow faster, but also understand whether or not their products are relevant in a particular market. So we've supported over 500 ventures, and our companies have raised almost 300 million in capital and generated about over 200 million in revenue. So these are kind of the key metrics that we track to understand our success as an institution. Foresight does operate across Canada. We've got over 20 employees now, so growing quite substantially. I'm just going to give a little example of a program that we run along the ecosystem building line that I discussed. This is called Sdg Connect. And it's driven by an overall international trend that we noted where large multinational companies and national companies are starting to frame their corporate citizenship goals in terms of the Sustainable Development Goals. And so what the SDG goals do is really provide a framework for how you can operate your company in a way that's aligned with the overall goals of member states of the UN. And so what we started to do was build a program that would connect companies that have those goals with smaller Canadian solution providers. So delivering made in Canada SDG innovation to global companies is really the goal of that program. It has 3 phases. It starts with challenge development, so working with a company to establish an opportunity and frame that in the SDG landscape. We then run a Canada-wide marketing campaign to essentially recruit and headhunt solutions for that company. And then we evaluate those solutions. Our in-house experts come together and develop a recommended list of the solutions that we think are appropriate. And then we set up a partnership to deliver those solutions. So that whole process lasts about 6 months, and it's usually managed in partnership with the Canadian Trade Commissioner Service. It's been a great success so far. We've mostly focused on Europe to date, but we have a number of challenges coming up in Africa, Latin America, and Asia. So I just want to give a little bit of an overview now of a couple of different sectors so that you can understand, in real time, what are the areas of innovation that are happening in Canada that may be relevant to Turkey. So Water Next is an initiative we started because we saw a real growth in the number of Canadian companies and policy initiatives working in water technology. So we combined forces with a large company called Xylem, also Water Smart Management Solutions, to create Water Next. And it's essentially a water specific cluster in Canada. And it's really about doing 3 things. One is creating a stronger innovation pipeline for water tech, building Canadian connections, so across the Canadian ecosystem, so that people aren't kind of replicating the same work. And then developing new and innovative partnerships between companies and government to grow the sector. So just a quick overview of where we see Canadian water tech developing some comparative advantages. Active in a number of different sectors, but particularly around the notion of water treatment and filtration, leak detection and infrastructure rehabilitation. So this is, for example, in the built environment, a huge issue. And then also resource recovery and water use are big areas where we're seeing activity. So you can broadly bucket those in sort of digital water technology for better monitoring your water use and water resources and infrastructure, and then also water treatment and wastewater management. So here's 2 examples. Saltworks works on treatment of water, really active in the oil and gas sector, but also recycling water and extracting resources from water. Another company, Lumen Ultra, really interesting company that works on testing and understanding how you can monitor your water resources. So moving on to agriculture. These are our sort of main areas in Canada for agriculture innovation. So farm management platforms, so this is digital technology, ag tech, genetics and breeding, crop protection and nutrients, and then machinery and robotics are our 4 primary areas. Both these companies are active in the software space. So Farmers Edge, based out of Winnipeg, Canada, digitizes farms. So actually connecting sensors to proprietary software that can then deliver better farm management. And then Decisive Farming is similar, but uses their software for decision-making technology. So how can you actually plan and build your farm? And they have over 5 million acres now, integrated into their system. The hydrogen economy, lots happening in Canada. It's a really interesting space. and it's been through an interesting arc, as it was sort of originally conceived that it would be primarily for smaller vehicles, and now is shifting into the commercial vehicle and infrastructure, industrial infrastructure space. So Canada's core competencies here, research into fuel cell, like just hydrogen research in general, fuel cell development and manufacturing, and then also production. The market focus we're seeing emerge in Canada is really around medium and heavy duty transport, as I mentioned, which is kind of segues into portable and mobile technologies. So for remote sites, replacing diesel generators, and also fueling infrastructure. So here's two examples of companies that are in the Foresight ecosystem active in this space. Loop Energy develops hydrogen fuel cells, mostly in the commercial sector. And they have a unique technology that allows them to deliver 90% improvement over the same size alternative for their range extenders. And then H-Tech is a bit more on the production side, so operating hydrogen production facilities, distribution systems, and fueling stations. And they're now building an electrolysis production facility in Vancouver, Canada. So again, just to recap, Foresight, really active in two primary areas: training of companies, but also sourcing of commercial opportunities for our companies. And we do that by partnering to identify needs in other countries and also in other parts of Canada. So please do view us as a resource. We're very interested and open to partnering, to making connections. If you have sustainability challenges, we have companies that can solve them, and some great investment opportunities as well. So thanks again for this opportunity, and look forward to your questions.
Thank you for your presentation, Jacob. It's very amazing and fruitful for us. I just want to ask you for first, Berna, what are you practicing about to improve the local or international ecosystem connected to the sustainability?
Thank you, Nia. Is it a question for me or to Jacob?
Yes, for Berna first.
Okay. So first of all, I'd like to say that I'm one of the investors and the leaders in ARIA, Women Investing Club. So I'm really proud to be part of this community, and I'm also one of the founding partners of D-Cube, which is a nonprofit cooperative aimed at facilitating sustainable development through increasing awareness for behavioral change, capacity development for enabling innovative solutions, and advocacy for the design and adaptation of necessary policies on circular economy. So what we do is that we bring local and regional and central governments together with the business communities to design circular economy policies and action plans in Turkey. We also organize awareness and capacity building activities and trainings to support sustainability in industrial production, and provide consulting services to private companies for their circular transition. We have developed a circular economy business guidance in Turkish entrepreneurship. So this will increase the understanding of circular business development models in Turkish sectors. One of the core strengths arises from this deep relationship with the entrepreneurship ecosystem in Turkey and MENA region. We provide mentoring services to entrepreneurs for them to develop sustainable products, design and innovation, and create value by applying the principle of circular economy in sustainable products, services, processes, and business models. We then assist these entrepreneurs for the expansion of the sustainable and innovative products and services to domestic and foreign markets. Thus, we organize awareness and capacity building activities and trainings in order to support sustainability in industrial production. And we support human capacity development on circular economy and circular design through trainings, mentorship, and consultation services. Then we assist in the expansion of sustainable innovative products and services to domestic and foreign markets. And we strengthen entrepreneurs with mentoring services in sustainability and circular economy, focusing on developing business models for sustainable product design and innovation. And we also facilitate entrepreneurs to create value by applying the principles of circular economy in sustainable products, services, processes, and business models. I'd like to say some few words about what circular economy is and aiming at. So in recent years, the circular economy has gained increasing prominence as a tool which presents solutions to some of the world's most pressing cross-cutting sustainable development challenges. By addressing root causes, the concept of a circular economy, an economy in which waste and pollution doesn't exist by design, products and materials are kept in use, and natural systems are regenerated, provides much promise to accelerate the implementation of the 2030 Agenda. So this transition from a linear to a circular economy requires a joint effort by stakeholders from all sectors. Companies can contribute to the transition by developing competencies in circular design to implement product reuse, recycling, and serving and trendsetter of innovative circular economy business models. Policymakers can support the transition by promoting the reuse of materials and higher resource productivity by rethinking incentives and providing the right set of policies and access to financing. So major groups and other stakeholders also play an important role in promoting the transition to a circular economy by mobilizing broad forces to carry out practical actions and putting pressure on business and governments to accelerate this implementation. So circular economy is relevant to all sectors of the economy. Examples of its successful implementation exist in different countries and sectors, such as the automobile industry, the food industry, the textile industry, the chemical industry, and wastewater management. Industrial growth brought about an economic system which is dependent on the use of resources. Sustaining a linear economy which ignores the limitlessness of nature resources seems impossible due to the serious increase in the risk of resource scarcity. Supply chains have become more complex. Competition and price waves have increased in the markets influenced by globalization, and production activities have become more and more complex. The linearity of this current economic system enlarges the distance of development from this being sustainable. So achieving sustainable development defined as development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs continues to be one of the priorities on the agenda of all countries due to climate change, human-induced environmental problems, and increasing inequalities. Accordingly, the United Nations adopted 2030 Agenda and determined its Sustainable Development Goals in 2015, thus aiming to achieve a sustainable development in line with the goals of until the 2030. Thank you.
Thank you, Berna. Thank you very much. And I also want to ask you, Jacob, you also mentioned SDGs in your presentation. What are you practicing, especially about in local? About practicing ecosystem connected to sustainability?
So you're asking about what we're seeing locally in terms of SDG trends?
What are you practicing about improve local and international ecosystem connected to sustainability about SDGs?
Okay, yeah, thank you. So it's a great question. It's a large question. I would say that where we see the biggest challenge right now is scaling Canadian companies to the stage where they're ready to participate in pilot projects. And that's fundamentally driven by sometimes a disconnect in the research agenda and the ambitions of entrepreneurs and the needs of large industry to achieve net zero targets. So what you've seen particularly post, or as we're all still in the COVID pandemic, but as we continue to transition from COVID to look to the recovery, these net zero targets being put forward by government in a much more ambitious way than was even conceivable 2 years ago. So that's creating a very interesting tension where these large companies have important targets that they need to meet, even though we think, 2030 targets 10 years away. From a corporate planning perspective, that's quite soon. And so we really need to get our junior companies ready to do pilots in the technology areas that are needed by these large industry players. And so that's why we're so interested in understanding, who are the big actors in Turkey? What are their SDG needs? How can we source Canadian solutions to apply to those? And if the Canadian solutions aren't ready, where does the Canadian government need to invest to help those companies be ready to work actively and support Turkey's and Canada's net zero transition? That's a big area of focus for us.
Thank you, Jacob. It's very valuable. Berna, in our last question, you mentioned 2030 agenda. I believe it's very significant for today's world. How do you see the future of sustainability and circular economy? What opportunities are there?
So when we think about the linear economy, like the economic system now in the world, so it's only a system that wastes the resources, and it is really important to understand that we need almost twice of the world's resources, and it will be tripled in only 5 years. So we don't have another world, and we are all using these resources without understanding the real future of our needs. So what we need is not only the economic growth. So our companies and our country's economic systems are only focusing on the economic growth, and not thinking about the sustainability of their products, of their systems, of their future, and even their future generations. So it's not about only the limitless resources, but thinking about the future generations and the economic system that will be in touch with them. So this circular economy understanding is not only about thinking about the environment, but it's also an economic system that uses the understanding of environment as a tool and applying it to the economic system that is in use at the moment. So there are many different solutions, many different practices that can be enabled and is enabled actually at the moment. So it's very, actually it's very profitable when you start using these items, when you started using these practices. And even if when we think about our childhood, not 100 years ago, but only 20 years ago, the systems that we use when we were child, the repair systems, like second-hand systems, and also rental systems, many systems that can be adapted to the economy, not without considering a huge investment. So first of all, we have to consider that we have limits. We don't have limitless resources, and we have to understand that we as humans are not only living alone on this environment, but living as an living all together, considering the economic and the environmental situation. So we have to be collaborative in all, considering the sectors that we work in, and also as countries, we are connected really deep down.
Thank you, Berna. I also want to ask this question for Jacob, actually from the Canadian side. How do you see the future of the sustainability and the circular economy? What opportunities are there?
Yeah, it's a really important topic. We believe that the circular economy is fundamentally driven by regulatory commitments. And so you've seen in Europe a real leading initiative to move away from incineration and landfills, and they've set hard regulatory targets. So for example, an Sdg Connect challenge that we ran earlier this year with Vestas, which is a large wind turbine manufacturer, was driven by the French government's regulation that within 10 years, they will not accept wind turbine blades for incineration anymore. So it creates a huge amount of waste. So 25,000 tons a year of wind turbine are currently just chopped up and incinerated. And Vestas will no longer be able to do that within 10 years. And so they're looking for ways to recycle their wind turbines. And Canada was able to provide a number of solutions, both in terms of better ways to recycle the turbine and also in terms of new materials to design the next generation of turbines. I think that's a trend you're going to continue to see in Canada, provided we see an ongoing commitment from government to create this new market. Creating the new market for circular economy will enable small and large industry players to raise the funds that they need to come up with alternative solutions. In Canada, we see a tremendous opportunity in the forestry and agriculture sector for alternatives to plastic and alternatives to asphalt, but we are not yet seeing the level of investment that we see in Europe in those sectors. And I think it's because we need Canadian government commitments to match the European commitments so that companies have regulatory certainty. They know that, yes, there will be a market here, and then they can raise capital off the back of that. As long as we don't have enough regulatory certainty, it'll be difficult to raise the money to make that new market a success.
Thank you, Jacob. I also want to ask you both, if a company or an entrepreneur wants to work about sustainability and circular economy, which sector do you think they should start from? Please, Berna, you first.
Okay, so like when we consider any kind of sectors, we need energy. So when we use the solar panels or solar energy, the sustainable energy systems, it will be much more comprehensive to understand the circular economic system, because it's one of the resources that we use the most from the environment. And then when we consider any kind of production systems, during the production systems, we have a lot of things that we cannot use, but we need to use in the system, in the production system. But after we have the product, the other things can only be goes to the garbage, so incinerated. So we only just get rid of them, only pay money to get rid of them. But when we consider a system that uses these resources as one of the other sectors' resources that can be get into the system, into the economic system again. So So when we think about the circular economy, the main issue, and also about sustainability, the main issue is the locality. The economic system needs to be go local than global. Of course, we need to think global in order to have main economic gains. But when we produce, we have to think local about the resources, and also how to use the resources again back into the system. So we need to have the collaboration with the governments in order to understand in which sectors the stakeholders are working in, and also which resources are they using and are they not using, so that we can combine all these waste together in order to get the best out of them. So when we think about textile, for example, in our city, in Bursa, we have a lot of textile companies. They can change some resources in between them, and also they can have systems not only in their company, but in the areas that they work in. So they don't have to invest for the machinery or for the system for the environmental culinary systems. The government and also the sector organizations need to get collaborative, and also the stakeholders like the customers and also suppliers and also the competitors actually need to sit on the same table in order to understand how they produce and how they use from the environment in order to produce. So that's a system that needs to be very objective and open.
Thank you, Berna. I think collaboration and think global is our motto today. Also, Jacob, what do you think about that? Which sector do you think they should start from, especially in Canada?
Sorry, can you ask that again?
Especially in Canada, if a company wants to start about sustainability and circular economy, which sector do you think they should start from?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, there's a lot of opportunity right now, and I'll say that. So it's a great time to get involved in the sector. I think one of the things that's, and I also frankly think that accelerators like Foresight are a great place to get started, because we do have a great network of mentors. So over 60 executives and residents and mentors who are people who have started companies or worked in industry and can give you advice. So I would say, if you're interested in getting active in clean tech, whatever your area of expertise, there is an opportunity to reduce emissions. And the best place to get involved is to contact an accelerator like Foresight, or one in Turkey, or one in other parts of Canada, Montreal, Quebec, Ontario, and just start to hold discussions. It's really important to actually not get too far along before talking to people who are active in a particular industry, because they'll be able to tell you, oh, there are 4 other companies that are working on that idea. Really, you're not going to be able to raise money for that. But try this idea. This is a new, interesting idea. So I would say, it's a bit of a roundabout way of answering your question, but I think entrepreneurship is very important, and talking about your idea with experts early on to help validate whether or not it's worth spending the next 5-10 years of your life on is really, really important. That being said, I do see big opportunities in circular economy. We see a lot of opportunities in software. As I mentioned in my presentation, water and agriculture both have big digital opportunities. The big advantage in the digital space is that the business model is easier. So if you're selling software, and selling particularly software as a service, you can build a recurring revenue stream around your product, and it makes it much easier to finance because the investors will recognize it as an annuity. And I would say if you're looking at hardware, if you have a new technology or a patent or something like that that you're working on, try to think about whether there are services that you can offer which are associated with that. And I'll give you a great example. So Ford announced that earlier this week that it's spending, you know, I don't think it's 30 or 40 billion dollars additional to develop their electric vehicles market. But they're recognizing that the margins on the vehicles that they sell are going to decrease dramatically. So the way they're making up that revenue is by selling software services. So when you buy a car, you're going to also buy a $50 a month subscription associated with that car to update the software, to manage it, et cetera. And that is a broader trend that's going to be across, I think, the entire economic ecosystem globally. This move towards this annuity model, because it's just simply much easier for investors to make those investment decisions if that model exists.
We come to end of our session, and thank you for rewarding sharing. It was all amazing. Do you want to add something? Is there anything else?
Well, just thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you, Jacob and Berna. You pointed out really important headlines for building future with sustainability and clean tech. Thank you all. Now, our next and final speaker is here, Christopher Wimmer. Welcome, Christopher. He is a Consul and Senior Trade Commissioner Service in Consulate General of Canada in Istanbul. But before that, before giving you the floor, we want to thank Consulate General of Canada in Istanbul for their sponsorship and support of this exciting opportunity for both ecosystem of Canada and Turkey. We would like to thank especially Ambassador Cemal Kokar for his visionary support and Vefa Ata for her valuable addition from the beginning. She was always with us through this process. And lastly, all my colleagues from Viveka, Yashar, Emin, İlter, Barış, you were great. Thank you a lot. Thank you all those who contributed. This event was the first example of its kind happening between these two countries, and we hope it opens the door for many collaborations to come, helping both ecosystems collaborate and create a better future for all us through innovation in the industry. Chris, are you here?
Yes, how are you?
For the closing remarks. Welcome.
Thank you very much. I hope everybody's had a great couple of days. As you can see, I'm in the middle of the world here, and that's pretty common being in Turkey as a nexus place of Asia and Europe, and always been at the center of the world to some extent. And it was interesting actually today. Before I get into all my thank yous and closing remarks, I've been here for almost 5 years, and since 2016, September 2016. So I've seen many things happen in Turkey and lived some really interesting moments and really enjoyed my time here. But I'll probably go back at some time later in the summer. And I'm buying a new place, a new house in Ottawa. And I had to call my bank manager in Toronto, who I've never met. Actually, I just called him up because he has to do a bank transfer and it's a bit complicated. So I call and I say, can I speak with the bank manager, please? And then I have to hold on the line for a minute. And then the bank manager comes on. He says, hello, this is the bank manager of TD Canada Trust, Toronto branch, blah, blah, blah. My name's Emery. I said, Emery? I said, are you Turkish? He's like, yeah. And I was like, nasılsın? He's like, iyiyim, sen nasılsın? I'm like, iyiyim, teşekkürler. And it was just, one more example of the Turkish community growing in Toronto just today, like literally an hour ago. So I thought that was really interesting. And as our Turkish community grows in Toronto, it becomes more and more connected and amongst the rest of the country. And it builds to the cultural mosaic of Canada. And I really hope that some of you that have been on the line today, when travel restrictions lessen and we move forward from this COVID this COVID crisis, that more people from Turkey come to Canada, experience Canada. And I hope more Canadians come and get to experience how great it is in Turkey and all the wonderful things that I've experienced here. So after that bit of a start, I just want to say we've been very happy to have hosted the first Canada-Turkey Innovation Program here, and hear a range of stimulating talks from experts representing a range of domains, from academia to industry, from sector associations to government agencies from Canada and Turkey. And a special thank you to all the speakers and the corporates and the startups who have contributed to this initiative. And of course, a special thank you to Viveka for setting this all up, and also some of my team, and Vef has been very involved, and other parts of my team as well. So, I mean, this has been a wonderful event. And I wanted to thank our wonderful tech entrepreneurs who have chosen Canada as their global headquarters, and have shared this journey with us and shown what their experience has been coming to Canada. We've heard from various speakers why Canada is a great place to innovate. Why choose Canada when you have so many options? When you have some options closer to you in Europe and other places that are traditional markets, and obviously famous ones in like the Silicon Valley, as the ambassador had noted. But as Canada comes up that value chain and becomes sort of a nexus place for many technologies, I think many people are choosing to come to Canada. And a lot of focus has been placed on the market size and the access to that market and beyond, being in Canada, and the access we have to the rest of the world. I mean, I want to thank as well all the attendees who've come and watched the sessions for the last 2 evenings. And sometime in Turkey, obviously, we're into the evening. In Canada, we're not quite yet. So it's always, sometimes difficult to do things across countries because of the time difference. But thank you very much for all that have had the patience to watch all these initiatives. And because this objective of this initiative has allowed us to bring together our young entrepreneurs, our corporates, our business accelerators, our incubators, our investors, our innovators in this great network. And that was sort of the reason why we wanted to do this. I think we needed to make that connection between Canada and Turkey that has existed in certain areas, and such things like Netash and the relationship with Nortel and these sorts of things have gone on for decades. But, to build that more robustly across the whole entire ecosystem in Canada and Turkey, I think it is, a really an opportunity we don't want to miss out on, because maybe Canada and Turkey seem to be far apart, but when we look closely into our sort of tech and innovation landscapes, we can easily find some common ground and challenges across key sectors that we work on together, whether that be agriculture, automotive, ICT, clean tech, life science. You can break ICT into AI and IoT and big data, connectivity, and a variety of other areas. But there's no shortage of places, and even in advanced manufacturing, that we can work together and we can advance, and particularly try to take ourselves all out of this sort of COVID era and into sort of what people think will be the boom, the post-COVID boom of the 20s, and almost like 100 years ago, and see where the economies will take us. Many of our universities and industry leaders are already collaborating on multilateral research platforms such as Horizon 2020 and Eureka Network. That's great. We want to see more of these collaborative projects that are just more than Canada and Turkey, but we're collaborating within that space. And I mean, part of the thing that's driven this forward, in a sense, has been the Joint Economic and Trade Committee agreement signed in 2019 between Canada and Turkey. It aims to enhance the commercial relationship, enhance the investment relationship, and drive forward collaboration in these areas of innovation. And that's why, the theme of the upcoming JETCO and later this year will be focused on that. And this is really sort of a flagship event that it speaks right to what we wanted to do, which is basically connect those ecosystems, connect those accelerators, connect those startups, get people thinking about it. And it's nice that we're a bit, we have a few months after this to think about what connections were made and where we want to take that, because it's just the start. So we'll stay tuned for exact dates, but we know, during the GECO, this will be the theme, the innovation theme, the connectivity theme, the putting together our researchers, putting together institutes, putting together our accelerators. And we hope that our event that we just hosted has fostered some of these relationships and some dialogues between Canada and Turkey, and the closer collaboration between our ecosystems in the key sectors. Clean technology, digital transformation have been a key focus. However, we know there are many other areas where there's great potential for collaboration, such as agri-tech, such as autonomous vehicles, such as healthcare. And there's a variety of other areas that it's almost like, there's too many things that we could be doing together, from natural resource management, from forestry to ocean technology. So many areas that we work on in both countries that we could collaborate on, and we need to collaborate on to sort of move forward and sort of the sustainable next generation of economy that we're all going to move into. The pandemic has posed serious challenges globally and has demonstrated that building sustainability, inclusiveness, and prosperous societies will be unattainable without some kind of global collaboration, without some kind of global strategic effort where we work together in close international collaboration. And I know that's important to Turkey, and I know that's also important to Canada. We heard from Arda earlier, his main message today, that Canada offers the most important factors for today's startups to succeed: market size, considering the North American and European markets, through the Canada's free trade agreements, and talent and investment and stability. And as Canada, we are open to business, we're open to innovation, we're open to collaboration with Turkey. And Turkey has a huge talent pool and a strong manufacturing industry, and it's a regional hub for the entire greater regional market of access to more than 1 billion people. That's why Turkey is so important. It's strategically placed at the center of anything, as it has been for hundreds of years. Turkey is a natural trading partner for Canadian companies who'd like to access, North America beyond, Europe, beyond. And Canada, as I was going to say, is a way for Turkey to access the rest of North America and Latin America. So, we can work together, bilaterally. We can make, strategic partnerships so that we can access other parts of emerging markets in the world. And we also believe that Turkey provides a great market for Canadian corporates and startups to test and scale their technologies and develop the new ones with Turkish partners. We're on the cusp of a new generation of entrepreneurs and technologies, and I think COVID has moved us into that and made us realize that, while we were far apart before, we're nothing but a Zoom call or a WhatsApp call or some other kind of technology apart from each other. And that's how we can connect, and that's how we can develop. And we don't need to be standing side by side. But I do hope that we will be soon, because if anything I've understood is, coming to Turkey, experiencing the culture, shaking hands, getting to know people. This is part of the beauty of life. And I hope that we all return to that soon. And I hope that those Canadians that have participated who have not been to Turkey, please come and see it. It's an amazing, amazing place. And those Turks who have not been to Canada, I encourage you to please. There are now 3 flights to Montreal, Toronto, and Vancouver, direct flights. So, I think that's 6 days a week when in non-COVID times to Toronto, and 3 days a week to Montreal, and various times a week to Vancouver. So there's even more connections and ways for us to get connected. So hopefully we'll stay connected virtually in the next few months. And as I said, hopefully some of you can meet in person one day. But until that time, I would like to thank you all again for attending. I look forward to seeing more collaboration between our two countries, particularly in our innovation ecosystems, which is really what's important in order to get us to the next Industry 4.0 and really take us to that technological next step where I think everybody needs to go in order to really kickstart the global economy again. And as I said, some of the global challenges that we face, there's nothing better than a startup community to look at a problem and find an opportunity. So I thank you very much. And I thank you for all your passion. And I thank you for coming today and yesterday to listen to some of the great speakers and some of the great things that happened between Canada and Turkey. And please stay tuned, as this is not the last event. And we will continue to do these types of events, and we'll continue to work together and find ways that we can collaborate and become partners even more. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Chris. Looking forward to seeing you all in the soon future events, maybe this time coming together in the same place, physically, hopefully, and build even stronger connections and cooperations. So thank you all and have a good day, Canada. İyi akşamlar, Türkiye. A bientôt, tout le monde.